Hello guys, welcome back to League One Predictions. We are back for the fourth week of the season already, and I am joined, as always, by Benjamin Bloom. How are you?
Great. It's getting a routine now, speaking to you early in the week about some League One stuff. And yeah, your Stockport and Charlton love is working a charm for you, isn't it?
It is, but it didn't get me the better of you in the predictions, Ben, as I'll highlight the scores up there. Ben has just about pipped me for another week, 9-8, which gives him a 2-point lead overall. So it is still quite close. I thought there's some decent predictions in there, a couple that we were quite far out on that we will highlight through the video. And guys, just before we get into the next set of predictions, as always, do show the love. Make sure to get your comments in with your predictions. Make sure to hit that first link in the description to head over to Benjamin Bloom, where we're doing quite a lot of content now. So subscribe to him. Make sure you're subscribed over here. We're going for 1,000 likes as well, so get involved with all of that. And we will dive straight in at Bloomfield Road, where Blackpool take on Wycombe Wanderers. Ben, I'll let you go first. Wycombe got their first win last week. Blackpool nearly did, but they didn't.
And a managerial casualty as well, Critchley out. So we're good at getting our excuses in here. We're likely to have a new Blackpool manager by the time this game happens. We don't know who that is. Anyone who's watched my channel knows I'm very suspicious of the, quote, new manager bounce. But I think I might highlight it this week and say that Blackpool might get a little bit of a kick. Blackpool's always noisy at home, isn't it? Wycombe have been inconsistent. I mean, we'll talk about Rotherham later. I'm going to put that more down to Rotherham than Wycombe last week. And I am going to back Blackpool to start this one off. Whoever's going in is getting a new manager bounce. Blackpool 1, Wycombe 0, Matt.
And that is a scribble.
Straight away.
Straight away. Yeah, I completely agree with the thinking there. Blackpool, as you say, will there be a new manager bounce? Right now, we don't know if it'd just be an interim, but we are early in the week at the time of recording this, so you'd like to think they'll get someone in. It's a shame because I do like Critchley, but like you say, you look at the results, they've not been good. And then in particular, away at Cambridge, to be 4-1 up and not win. They've shown signs that they're capable of getting their goals. We saw that, but game management not quite there. As for Wycombe, I do need to say they have had a very difficult start with it being Wrexham, Birmingham and Rotherham. So they're up and running with their first win. And what I'll do then is go for the 1-1 here, Ben. I reckon Wycombe are showing enough fight to get something here and maybe capitalise to get something out of Blackpool that are not in the best shape. So I'll go down the middle for a 1-1 draw now. But do share your thoughts down below. An interesting game, that one. Ben, I like the look of this. It was a championship game last year. It's a Yorkshire derby. It's Rotherham versus Huddersfield. And it's two teams we expected to do well. One has started well, one not so much. And I don't want to big up speculation about a casualty coming again soon. But Steve Evans has got to get a result soon, hasn't he? Because this would be a really bad start if they fail to score and lose or something in this one. What say you on this game?
Mate, 8-point gap already between Rotherham and Huddersfield. Who would have had that? We were both really high on Rotherham and he's just not got them going. And if you thought anyone would, without being snobby about the type of football, it's the type of football that you can implement quickly and get a season up and running. But I think I know what you're going to do. I think I know what probably we're both going to do on this one, but it's going to be hard to back Rotherham. And I'll throw to you with that being said, Matt.
Do you know what then, Ben? I'm going to give you an open goal because I sense Rotherham might actually get something. Everything is pointing towards the opposite, but I just think with Rotherham being at home, Steve Evans knows the pressure's on. Maybe they can grind something out, and everything is telling me Huddersfield win, but I'm going to go for Rotherham 1-0. A nitty, gritty, grinding out of the 3 points against a very decent team. I do want to make sure at the same time I'm giving lots of compliments to Huddersfield, who have been very good so far, but I just think if they lose this, there will be some boos, and it's a really bad start to the season. So I'm going to say they're going to kickstart their season here with a 1-0 win, which would be massive.
That's bold. I quite like that. You're playing Jedi mind tricks as well with me, because that's brought me in towards the draw. Now, when I was going to go heavy on Huddersfield and 4 from 4, but now you've said that, do you know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing not a great Rotherham performance, and maybe Huddersfield are 2-1 up going into the last 10, and Rotherham are going to nick a goal. I know you love a Desmond, and you've influenced me quite heavily here, so I'm going to go for the draw now. I was going to go Huddersfield. I'll go Rotherham 2, Huddersfield 2, Matt.
Oh, there you go. Neither of us go for Huddersfield, which is quite interesting.
Which is quite stupid considering they got 9 points, but hey.
Surely they're going to drop points at some point, and surely at the same time, Rotherham are going to start winning at some point, so who knows? Let's go to the next one, Ben, which is the other team that came down from the Championship last season, Birmingham City, who are up and running now. They take on Wigan Athletic, and Birmingham still yet to keep a clean sheet. So I wonder if it might be a Blues win, but do they concede or do they finally get that clean sheet? They're taking on Wigan, who got up and running with that 1-0 win against Crawley last week. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you've nailed it with your setup. What brilliant little run for Birmingham now. They needed this, didn't they? You know, with all the expectation, all the hype, rightly so, after the gigantic spend. And we still have a few days left of the window, Matt, so they might... You never know. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something more. But, you know, to win in the EFL Cup, to go away to Wycombe, which is tough, and Orient as well. 3 wins on the road to take them. Well, actually, they're in the EFL Cup. I wonder if they can do something against probably Fulham hybrid A-B team there. But that's not the real quiz. I like your call on the clean sheet as well. I think it's going to come here. And when we talk about how Wigan got past Crawley, you can quite easily see Birmingham winning and Wigan not scoring. So I've gone narrow on Birmingham recently. Let's go heavy on Birmingham. Birmingham 3, Wigan 0.
Nearly a scribble. I'm going to go for Blues 2-0. I do think this is where they finally get a clean sheet and it looks a little bit more comfortable. You think that first home game against Reading was the first game, maybe, as we said, not everything's quite clicked at that point. A big cup game, really, for Reading to go there and frustrate Birmingham in a sense. And they've got up and running on the road. I now think coming back to St Andrews, playing sort of really nice football, I think they'll get it and it will be a little bit more comfortable against a Wigan team that have, yes, they've won, but been a little bit under par. And to be fair, I'm really pleased looking back at my Birmingham prediction from last week, Ben, because I was going to go for the 2-0 and then I tweaked it at last minute and I was like, I think they might concede. So I think this time around they will get the clean sheet. We're both going fairly comfortable for Birmingham. Okay, let's go to Bolton versus Exeter City. Bolton, not maybe the best start by their standards, but they were playing a very good Charlton last week who just keep keeping clean sheets. We'll come on to them later. Exeter City lost 2-1 to Peterborough, as you predicted. Good prediction there. Surely the home win. I'll pass over to you before I do my prediction, Ben.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Bolton, you're going to be expecting a bounce back. We're now setting up Charlton as part of that sort of top 4 picture, aren't we? So that now becomes a difficult game. Am I up first on this one, or is it you, Matt?
It's me.
Right, you go ahead, and I'm gonna go off the back of whatever you decide here.
Yeah, so I do think I won't go away from a Bolton win. I like to chuck in surprises, but I think this one for me, I'm fairly confident they should get it, and they need to as well. With just 1 point from the last 2 games, if you're in a promotion race, that is a real slip up in a sense, especially if it becomes 3 games. So I think they'll get it done, but I don't think all the cogs are fitting and everything's spinning just yet. So I could see Exeter maybe giving it a go. Bolton 2, Exeter City 1.
Yes, I've got the same margin of victory. I'll go for the Bolton clean sheet and for them to kind of just keep the ball and, you know, reduce Exeter chances in that respect. So I'm going to go Bolton 1, Exeter 0. So we're double on Bolton.
Yeah, both go for Bolton with the 1-goal victory. And then we'll go to the Memorial, which it's Bristol Rovers versus Cambridge United. I was fairly impressed with Bristol Rovers' start to the season. They got that win against Northampton, followed it up with a draw against Rotherham. But they did lose to a very good Stockport last week. So I feel like it's been very down the middle for Bristol Rovers. But if they can make it 7 points here with a win, it's been a really decent start. They take on Cambridge, who are yet to win, did get their first draw coming from behind. I just wonder if that incredible comeback will give them quite a lot of confidence coming into this game. It's over to you for your prediction.
Yeah, neither of us got the 4-4 last week, did we? That's surely a 10-point bonus if you ever call a 4-4. I am higher on Bristol Rovers than Cambridge on this one. And I think, they came back from 4-1, but we mentioned, it was a managerless Blackpool in a bit. And if you watch the goals on that, it was like set play, counter-attack, throw in, pouring down with rain. It was that type of beautiful English football pyramid game. So I'm going to give Blackpool a little bit of a pass. And that means I can go all in on Bristol Rovers here. And I'm going to go for a predictable 2-1. Bristol Rovers 2, Cambridge 1.
Yep, and I've got the same margin again, but this time I'm going for the 1-0. Before the Stockport game, they'd kept 2 clean sheets, and I just wonder if they'll go back to that now at home, keep it tight. Obviously, Cambridge, as I say, they've got their shooting boots on them after what we saw against Blackpool, but I just wonder if Bristol Rovers might manage this game and just grind out the win. So I'm going 1-0. We're both going with a 1-goal victory to Bristol Rovers. And then we've got Ben's favourites, Crawley Town versus Barnsley. Crawley lost last week, Ben, but it's not the end of the world. It's still a really decent start to the season. It's now looking like the fixtures are going to get difficult. They're always quite difficult in this league. Can they get something against Barnsley, who did drop points themselves, having led 2-0 against Northampton to draw 2-2? Do you know what? I do think with Crawley being at home, they're capable of possibly getting something. I'm thinking between a draw or Barnsley winning by 1, and I'm going to play it safe going with the favourites for me. I think Barnsley will need a reaction after last week, so I'm going to go with Crawley 1, Barnsley 2.
You're going to love this, Matt, because I'm the world's biggest Crawley apologist. They shouldn't have lost to Wigan. It was an own goal. Wigan had 1 shot on target other than that. 72% possession Crawley had, 14 shots to 2. So even though they went away and lost 1-0 at Wigan, it was actually a smash and grab. Yeah. The numbers tell us that. Look, if you were at the game, tell us differently down in the comments. And Barnsley, very much like Darryl Clark, but I do just wonder with the Barnsley's propensity to change managers quite quickly, and that being kind of the biggest job of his career. And you sort of mentioned they were 2 up, weren't they, against Northampton? So all of this means that I will be back in Crawley yet again for the 4th week running. Let's go Crawley. Let's go silly as well. I want a bonus point, Matt. Crawley 3, Barnsley 2.
Wow. I love
tremendous.
That is one of my favourite predictions so far this season.
Incoming 0-1 Barnsley then, yeah.
I do love that. I hope that comes true. I do think, like you said, based on performances as well as results, Crawley have probably been a bit more consistent than Barnsley so far. I just think with Barnsley, after we saw them lose to Mansfield, it was a really good reaction away at Lincoln. So I'm kind of going with that after the Northampton draw. Let's go to a battle of 2 newly promoted teams, Mansfield and Stockport. Mansfield, they've been pretty bonkers. Loads of goals going in their games. Started off with that win at Barnsley. Then it was the draw with Burton 3-3, and then went down 4-1 losers to Lincoln. So crazy, crazy start. So long as they're still chucking points on, they'll keep their way out of trouble. I just can't go against Stockport, Ben. They look so powerful. And in Stockport and Wrexham, we've got 2 teams that really could go straight into that top 6. I'm not even joking. I know it's a long season, but they both look really good so far.
They really do. I'm just wondering how much Stockport, we don't know yet how much their form's going to skew home as opposed to away, because they've only had 1 away game. And again, we've mentioned Blackpool is a bit of a pass because of the managerial situation, but I echo exactly what you said. You can't really back against Stockport at the moment. And we get this a lot when teams get promoted together. They often play each other early in the season and kind of everything gets forgotten from the previous year. But I didn't go for Huddersfield to go 4-4. I will go for Stockport to go 4-for-4. But let's go for them to actually concede a goal on the basis of what you said about Mansfield being quite happy scorers. But Mansfield 1, Stockport 3.
Yeah, very similar. We're thinking very similar today. I've gone for my bonus point here with Mansfield 1. Mansfield 1, Stockport 4.
Wow.
I know Mansfield lost 4-1 last week. Maybe something similar this time round. You're right, though. I mean, Stockport haven't conceded yet, so I wouldn't be surprised if they keep the clean sheet. But at the same time, Mansfield have that tendency to just keep scoring and conceding. So I think it's a fairly decent game to play a bonus point in, and I'm going fairly heavy on Stockport. And then we go to Sixfields, Ben. Northampton Town versus Burton. Northampton Town last week, they got that draw at Barnsley. Really impressive. Coming back from 2 down. And Burton drew last week as well, 0-0 with Stevenage. We didn't quite predict the 0-0 for that one. So they both drew coming into this one. What are you thinking?
I'm struggling, and I'm glad you're going first. I can't place Burton at the moment because I think you and I both had them struggling but being really goal heavy, and it was like that to begin with. And then we got a 0-0 last week. So I haven't got the foggiest on this one, and I'm going to react off what you say.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, we're up to game week 4 now. Burton are one of the teams that haven't won yet, but I don't think they've been playing bad necessarily. We've seen them involved in a couple of draws. It's just about turning one of them into a win. But Northampton at Barnsley, really impressive and very good against Exeter the week before. So they're on 4 points. I'm thinking of going down the middle here, Ben. I was tempted to go for Northampton. I'm going to go 1-1.
That's a scribble for me then, because that's exactly what I was going to do. So I want to back somebody then. I think you might have convinced me on Northampton, which would be a really bad start for Burton, new owners, new manager. But let's do it. Let's do it on the basis of that more familiarity and muscle memory for John Brady and Northampton. So I'll add 1 goal on to your prediction. I'm going to go Northampton 2, Burton 1, but I'm throwing my hands up, struggling with Burton predictions so far this season.
Yeah, I just feel like they will get a win when we probably least expect it, and they'll maybe start moving up the table. We did say they've had quite a lot of business, so it might be one of those teams that start to grow into a season. Ben, I like this one. Peterborough
I love
United
this one.
Versus Wrexham. This surely means goals, right?
You would think so. Yeah, so I'll plug straight into both teams to score. And Peterborough, they just never change, do they? If you said, I think the last 2 weeks they've gone away from home, they've gone behind in both games, they've won both games, both teams to score in both games, and they just have a conveyor belt of great attacking players. And it's almost like every season I watch some Peterborough highlights and I look up some athletic striker who I've never heard of, and I just assume they'll be in the Championship, sold for a couple of million in a couple of seasons' time. It's difficult because I don't know what Wrexham's ceiling is, but what a great win. Hammered Reading, frankly. My narrative, Matt, is that Wrexham are, even though they're Disneyfied, that Peterborough are the masters of this division, and I think it's going to be you got to learn from us. If you're going to get promoted, you've got to get past Peterborough. So I'm going to go both teams to score in a Peterborough victory. Peterborough 3, Wrexham 1.
Yeah, that's a decent shout. That it's not what I've gone for. I am going to go for the away win. I just think after last week, we both didn't quite see that hammering against Reading coming. And I think Reading
very impressed, yeah.
Fairly good so far. I do feel more confident with Wrexham at home. So I am wondering if I should go for a draw here. But I'm going to go Peterborough 1, Wrexham 2. As you say, Peterborough really know their way about this division and how to score goals and points. But do you think at times they can be susceptible to a slip and a few goals conceded? So I will go with Wrexham to win this one and continue this really strong start, because they've been very good so far. But what a great matchup that one is. We're going either way. And then we've got another really tasty matchup, Ben. Reading versus Charlton, which I think is two good teams again. But I think this one, surely low scoring.
Yeah, you had Charlton pegged from the word go, didn't you, mate? You were completely right about how they've gone. 3 wins, no goals conceded, and look at the pressing as well for both of the goals. It is just absolute peak Nathan Jones. They saw Bolton coming, they snarled around them and grabbed a couple of goals. So I think I'm going to be scribbling something in a minute, but away you go.
Yeah, so my narrative here is, like you said, Charlton brilliant, scoring points and clean sheets at an incredible rate. How long can they keep that going? Because if we get to game week 5 and 6 and they're still winning every game with clean sheets, you're like, well, they've already built up a decent chunk for promotion already. Reading have actually been quite good. We saw that against Birmingham. They were fairly comfortable against Wigan. Just last week, didn't really seem to show the fight against Wrexham. I wonder if they'll now go to a sort of, we know what Charlton are about. Let's try and play them at their own game. Let's keep it low scoring. But I still just think Charlton will get 1 goal and that'll be it. Reading 0, Charlton 1.
And that's the scribble. That's exactly what I was going to say. So that's what I think's going to happen. But you've got that one covered. So I'll have to play the 1-1er there. That maybe Reading will equalise later. Maybe it'll all be going perfectly to plan, and we'll have a furious Nathan Jones as Reading grab themselves an equaliser. But I do think it's great for this division that we've got the potential for Charlton to be in there. We think Birmingham and Huddersfield, relegated teams are going to be in there, and we're loving what Wrexham and Stockport are doing as well as promoted teams. So it's all bubbling up nicely. But I'm down the middle, Matt. Reading 1, Charlton 1.
Yeah. And I'm glad I stole that prediction.
I knew you were going to do that. I was trying to influence you not to do it, but my Jedi mind tricks didn't work on you, Matt.
Well, I think it was after last week, Ben. You stole the 1-0 Charlton, so it was only right that I returned the favour. Okay, let's go to Shrewsbury v Leyton Orient, Ben. 2 teams that have lost all 3 games so far, so not the best start. How I'm looking at this, though, is Leyton Orient have played some really top teams here. We mentioned Bolton. They also played Birmingham City last week. The week before that, it was Charlton. So it's been a really difficult start. Shrewsbury have had some difficult games. They just played Huddersfield and Peterborough. They did lose to Stevenage on the opening day, which I'm going to keep referring back to as a real big game that if you lose that, does it set the tone? What a disaster it would be for either team to lose this. 0 points from 4 games is a terrible return. So I wonder, I don't think they'd be happy with the draw, but a draw gets them going. I'm going to play. Oh, actually, I haven't done one. You're going first.
I'm not going to steal it. I feel there's a 0-0 coming out from Matt SB in a second. But I suppose the good news is, Matt, someone has got to get a point in this one. They're the only 2 sides with 0 points. And it's always interesting when you get either a first against second or a 23rd against 24th. And to get one in round 4. Look, I'm always a bit of a fanboy for Richie Wellens and not much of a fanboy for Paul Hurst. So it's probably not a surprise that I'm going to leave you the 0 and I am going to go for the away win here. I'm going to back the Orient. Sorry, Shrewsbury. I'm going to go for a 4th straight defeat. Let's go Shrews 0, Orient 1. Yeah,
it's similar sort of lines of thinking, I think, there. But yeah, I am going to go for the 0-0. I'm glad you haven't
get in there.
That. There's got to be one surely in here, and I'm thinking this game possibly. What it is I do think along the same lines as you that Orient would maybe be the team I'm leaning towards more, but maybe with the home advantage and the fact they've just got to get something, maybe Shrewsbury just get themselves a point. So we'll go for the 0-0 and the 0-1. And then the final game, Ben, is Stevenage versus Lincoln City. Lincoln, very good last week against Mansfield. So that makes it 2 wins from 3. And as for Stevenage, they got themselves a 0-0 away at Burton. Do you make Lincoln favourites for this one?
I do. And I'm looking there, other than Mansfield, I'm seeing 13 goals in Lincoln's games so far. So I don't want to give you too much, but I'm thinking Lincoln and both teams to score. But you're up first, mate.
Yeah, I won't steal that. I'm thinking Lincoln will be better at home this season. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm pretty split on this. I'm really not sure, Ben. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a draw. I've gone for a couple draws today. I'm going to throw in one more. Maybe Stevenage just hold them. As we've said before, is there that residual left from Steve Evans? 1-1 I'm going to go for, but I do make Lincoln favourites.
Imagine Steve Evans is back at Stevenage later in this season. I'm just throwing that into the universe. I don't want that to be the case because I don't want to see anyone fail at any job ever because I'm a nice human being, but you never know. So, yeah, I've set up my narrative. You've left me the open goal to go with. And obviously, the open goal is a 2-1 away win, given what I think is going to happen here. So, Stevenage 1, Lincoln 2. Lincoln to move on to 9 points from 4, which would be a fine start, keeping up their good work from the end of last season.
Absolutely, yeah. They were the form team towards the end of last season. Decent matchup. Two teams that were just on the outside of the playoffs last year. And that does wrap up the League One predictions for another week. That is the 12 games predicted by myself and Ben. Do get your predictions down below. Ben, how are you feeling? I'm not 100% sure with my predictions, and they've not even started the games yet. So, I don't know. I feel like it's getting a bit unpredictable now.
I feel like you're like a team that's got good underlying numbers and hasn't started winning yet. And that you're first. Do you know what I mean? I think you're first. I think I've been a bit lucky with a couple of shouts, and I think you had a good couple of general theories that have worked out nicely on Stockport and Charlton. So I'm a bit concerned about this week. I've got to be very, very honest, and I'm also looking forward to recording the Premier League check-in podcast with yourself after we finish this one, Matt.
Absolutely. There is the plug right there. And we just saw how nice Ben is there. He's complimenting my underlying numbers. So do make sure to head over to Ben's channel. As I say, the first link in the description, where we have not just got League One content, but Premier League content now. So do make sure to subscribe over there. Make sure you've subscribed over here. There will be quite a lot of content between Ben and myself. So if you enjoy it, get involved. And thank you again for joining me, Ben. We will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace out.